As dedicated allies to the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, we at Educanation recognize the vast sovereign, unsurrendered, and treaty territories from the east to the west coast. We acknowledge the First Peoples of Turtle Island to be the original and rightful landowners, land caretakers, and land healers to what we know to be Canada. Through an ever-growing network of partners and supporters, we at Educanation sincerely aim to continually work and learn how to be diverse and responsive in supporting the various wellness needs of Indigenous communities. Welcome to ECN Talks, brought to you by Educanation, Canada's first and only association of certified cannabis educators. Educanation is dedicated to delivering the highest standard of responsible cannabis education, supporting respect for holistic plant medicine. We're patients supporting patients, caregivers, and a growing network of cannabis coaches and educators because we've been there, been through it, and understand that there's more to cannabis than what we've been told. Stigma, myths, and disinformation have clouded more minds than any puff of cannabis smoke. So these conversations are to help clear the air while we celebrate the plant, the people, and the science behind cannabis by sharing stories, insights, and practical guidance to help you navigate the world of holistic plant medicine safely and confidently. Whether you're here to learn, explore, or just satisfy your curiosity, consider this your monthly dose of cannabis literacy without the hype, the smoke, or the stigma. Educanation is here to offer straight-up education you can trust.
Hey, JJ.
Hey, Shauna. We're back. Welcome, everybody. This is our 4th episode of ECN Talks, and we're really excited to bring you these conversations. These conversations are just like the ones that we have behind the scenes within our organization, at our water coolers, our business support groups, our Friday speaker series. And we really wanted to bring them to you unscripted, unfiltered, and unedited, just like we have them when we are one-on-one. So here we are once again, and we really hope that you caught our last episode on insights on sovereignty with our guest, José Bourgeois, who is Educanation's Policy and Advocacy Director. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. You can find it on Spotify. We had some great feedback from this episode, and we had some questions come up about it as well. So if you are not following us on the socials, you are going to want to do that because we are going to be covering those questions and bringing up those topics that episode brought about. So find us on Facebook, find us on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And as well, you can find ECN Talks on Spotify and many other platforms, and we'll get those to you soon. Also, we have our Woke Dose segment that comes up at the end of every episode. So if you have a question about cannabis that you would like answered, then we want to encourage you to send us your questions, and you can send those to educanationinc@gmail.com. All right, let's dive in. Hi, everyone. My name is JJ O'Brien, and I'm the Executive Director at Educanation, and we are a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to promoting the highest standard of responsible cannabis education.
Thanks, JJ. And I am Shauna Dunbar, also Executive Director at Educanation and one of our founders. I am a certified cannabis educator, and I'm excited to be here to having these conversations about cannabis and bringing education out there. And I'm also really excited to be introducing one of our board members, Therese Bowers, who is also a certified cannabis educator. And she has a lot of great experience that she is going to come in and share with us today. She is taking on her 2nd term as a board member. She served for 2 years, a few years back, and she is joining us again on our board. We're very grateful in the membership committee seat. She's leading us on that. And yeah, I would really like to give a warm welcome to Therese. We love to have her as part of our organization and all the amazing things that she brings to the space. So welcome, Therese.
Thank you.
Welcome, Therese.
Thank you. So glad to be here and share more about how the inner workings of ECN works and how we talk and how we share. So this is
awesome. But before we do that, why don't you tell everybody about yourself and a little bit about your background, how you got into cannabis?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been walking with cannabis since 2010. I was in a really challenging situation with my family. My daughter was newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I was really struggling with caregiving, losing a lot of sleep at night, stress and anxiety throughout the day. And the doctor thought that I should go on a myriad of pharmaceuticals in order to address the pain, the discomfort, the insomnia, and the anxiety that I was experiencing. And it just didn't feel right. And I didn't know anything about cannabis, but in my community, cannabis is quite a big part of where I live. And so I felt this nudge to try her and to just experiment and reach out to cannabis. And so I did. I rolled my first joint, put the kids to bed, went out to the garden, and had my first puff. And it was at that moment that I realized, oh, wow, this is something that's been kept from me my whole life. And I am really curious about this. And right away, I noticed just the weight of caregifting lifting off my shoulders and being able to feel my breath. And I slept so good that night. And that took me into years of researching more about cannabis and diving in and looking at all the benefits, and also working in pediatric cannabis as well. My son contracted Lyme disease in 2014, and so we were able to work with pediatric cannabis prescription for him. And he's 23 years old today and living on his own and out of bed. And I believe it's all because of cannabis. A good part of his healing is due to cannabis.
And so that led you to decide to become an educator, like many of us, right? We start off with these personal stories. Where did you get your certification, and how did that lead you to education?
Yeah, when legalization came in 2018, I knew I wanted to be in the cannabis space, but I didn't know how. I didn't want to run a retail store. I didn't want to be a grower. And so I started researching and found the Cannabis Institute. It was Cannabis Coaching Institute at the time in the States and the US. And it's called the Cannabis Institute now. And started my cannabis coaching certificate in March of 2020. So this was before even COVID was happening. I had signed up, so I'd already had plans for 2020 to be studying at home, and spent that year getting my certification and graduating from the Coaching Institute, and then started taking on clients right away. Later in that year, later in 2020, started working with clients.
That's amazing. So you feel that the education that you received at the Cannabis Coaching Institute set you up for being able to work with people as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
And that's why we're partnered with them, because we know that it's such a great course. So many of our members have gone through it. And so what led you to education? Share with our audience, because you started off just as a member, like most of us, and then you graduated to getting really more involved, and then took a bit of a sidestep and then have come back to it, right? Like you can't stay away. So share with our audience what that has looked like for you.
So I think it was around January 2021, early that year. So I had been coaching a little bit already, and I had a vision of not being a solo person, just on my own. And I wanted to actually develop a network of other coaches. And so I started to explore to see what was out there. And that's when I came across education. And I think it was Stacy who I got in touch with. No, maybe it was
Steph.
Steph. It was Steph.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Steph that I reached out to, and we had a call, and it was like, wow, this is the fit that I've been looking for, just somewhere where I can plug in, learn together, and network with other people. So I became a member right away, and I think I was like the first or second member, and started to join all of the education events at that time. We had I don't even remember all the things we had. Water cooler, we had business support group.
Our Friday speaker series, all the things,
things. And then when nominations came up for the board the year after, I think it was 2022, then I joined the board for two or 3 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah,
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years now.
Yeah. And then I took a step back and just was on the outskirts, but still very much involved with education and still attending board meetings and still just being in the periphery. And then this past year, jumped back onto the board.
Yeah, you've
Well, it
always
sounds
been a great contributor to the organization, and you know, I think sometimes we join organizations and we're not really sure where we sit, but within education, we're always open to our members contributing, and you felt that call, and you were there to help guide us as well, so that we could be meeting your needs as a member. And yeah, I've always been grateful that you joined the team, and knew you couldn't stay away.
when I hear you explain it with this timeline too, it sounds very much like my journey as well. I was just a couple of years behind you, like going to the Cannabis Institute, shout out Corinne Tobias, Andrew Maharg, and then, finding education and then joining education and then, progressing the way that we both have within this organization. And yes, we are very grateful for all your contributions and commitment to this organization. I couldn't help but notice when you referred to cannabis, you said her. And I would love to talk a little bit about that relationship and why you call cannabis her, and what that means to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I've been, tending cannabis, cultivating cannabis, being with her in the garden and really getting to know the energy and the energetics of cannabis. She is a female plant. It is the female energy that we are working with in our medicine. And the male plants have their roles. They have excellent roles too, but it's the female who the medicine comes through. And it very much parallels where we are in life right now, where we're moving out of patriarchy and out of the colonized ways of being and more into this matriarchal, heartfelt way of being. Healing comes through the feminine. It just does, with the support of our masculine. It's not that we're better or anything. We both are showing up to the table with our strengths. And so I wanted to just embody more of that and recognize her healing capacities and how that allows me to flow healing through me towards myself and to others. And so when I refer to her, it feels like a companion, and it feels less like a plant and me. It feels more like, more like this melody, this entourage of how we work together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love the way that you just framed that. Why don't we take a quick commercial break and dive back into some deeper questions about how you've really incorporated her into your life and into your practice.
Yes.
One of the biggest areas for growth in the cannabis industry is actually cannabis hospitality. And did you know you could start your own business for under $5,000? Allow me to take you through my mentorship program to receive your Cannabis Hospitality Stewardship Certificate, where we're going to allow you to understand this plant in a way in which you can actually shepherd the plant to people. And not only a way to start a new career, but a way to actually enrich people's lives so they can use the benefits of cannabis to enhance their lifestyle. Please join me on this revolutionary journey.
We're back. We are here with Therese Boers, and we are talking a little bit about your connection to the plant and this relationship that you have been building with her. I don't want to move away from this part of the conversation. I want to hear a little bit more because I know you have more to share too. So why don't you talk a little bit more about your relationship that you've been building and how you've been trying to share that with everyone?
So originally when I started to consume cannabis, I knew that there was something special about this, but I didn't really know what. And so that's why I dived down into the science of cannabis and getting to know the plant, its biology, how it works in our systems, the sciencey part of it. But it wasn't until a few years ago where she called me in a different way. And as I walk in my own divinity and my connection to divine, it was like divine started to speak to me in a different way in how I related to her, and invited me to join in more of a ceremonial, more of a sacred way of being. So I have my medical way of being, cannabis, and I started to explore this sacred way of being. And it has been the deepest joy of my life to experience cannabis in this way, and to really dive into the messages that she has for us, the support that she has for us, and the way that she can support our nervous system and how we are in the world right now. We're going through a lot right now. And I believe cannabis has come into legalization at a really good time for us, so that we can all have access to her and we can all work with her in a good way. And so this is where I like to bring in my education, is if we're working with her in a medical way, that's really excellent. And to bring our intention into that, and to be mindful of why we're reaching to her, as opposed to just reaching and grabbing, you're just putting it in and doing this mindless routine, but making our connection ritual based. And that can be as simple as just bringing to mind the reason that we are imbibing with her. And then also just elongating that connection through sacredness by either if we're utilizing cannabis to be elevated, then also bringing to mind, like I like to bring to mind a question. Let's say I'm going through a challenge in life and I'm wanting some guidance and direction. So I'll bring that situation to mind and then imbibe and then ask what guidance that she has for me. And cannabis helps us to open up our connection to divine. And so our messages can come through more clearly. Our thinking can slow down, our bodies can rest, and so that we can really listen and hear and heal. And this is where true healing comes from. Not just reducing our pain, but really deep down inner core healing.
Yeah, that protect, eats, relax, forget, sleep, that beauty about cannabis. It does all of those things. That helps, yes, regulate that system. What were you going to say, Shauna?
Well, I like the way you put that, like bringing the medical and the science together with intention, and taking a holistic approach, right? And recognizing how cannabis can make us feel and open our minds as well. I'd like to know, we had the privilege of participating in one of your cannabis ceremonies recently with our members, our leadership members, and some of our community members, and it was really a lovely experience. Can you share with the audience how the people that you're working with benefit from this different kind of take on it, right? You're not just working with your patients in a way where you're saying, okay, here's the science. This is these are the cultivars we're going to work with. These are the chemotypes we're going to work with. I'm going to create this cannabis plan for you. You're bringing intention into the space. How do they react to that? Like, what is the feedback that you get from that?
So it's interesting to hear the feedback. And I was working with a young man in his early 20s, and had been consuming cannabis for a long time, and had a dysregulated relationship. He was reaching for cannabis without intention and was numbing out. So utilizing it to check out instead of checking in. And so the simple guidance that I gave him was just set an intention and bring that to mind every time you reach for cannabis. And I got a text back and saying, it sounded so woo-woo. What you said was so woo-woo and just sounded so ridiculous, but I did it. And he said, it changed how cannabis worked for me, and it changed how I saw her and how I reached for her. And so I see this so often I'm working with seniors, not as much with younger people, but often I'm working with seniors. And so we're starting from the foundation. So they either smoked something in the 60s, or they've never had cannabis at all. And so by starting with a fresh slate of being, what makes cannabis more effective is that you're setting an intention. So they don't know any different. And so they're getting off on the right foot right away by I'm being mindful with this, I'm consuming it in a good way, and I'm noticing what it is that I'm wanting cannabis to do. And then I'm also checking in and making sure that that's what's happening, and that my dosing is correct, and that I'm going about it in a good way. So that's So for seniors, I would say it's totally new for them. They don't know anything different. And then I invite them to utilize this same principle with everything that they're taking. If they're working with pharmaceuticals or other things, why can't you still bring intention and amplify? It's our energy, right? We're infusing our energy and our intention, and we're so powerful this way. And it's very largely untapped in our lives. So if we just find these little ways of bringing that energy and intention in, it's been really neat to see.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. You mentioned seniors as well, and I wonder, we know that seniors are one of the largest demographics of people who are coming to cannabis, and I wonder what your experience has been in working with seniors.
Mm-hmm. It has been a delightful group of people to work with. One, because I find it a challenge to help uncover the stigma and replace it with facts and truth and science. So often when I'm going into a group of seniors, it'll kind of be split as to people who have connected with cannabis, who have been working with it, who want more guidance, people who have no idea, and people who are there out of curiosity but have a lot of stigma. And so I do find that to be a really lovely challenge for me to uncover that, to share the history, the true history of cannabis, and how we've been utilizing it as a medicine for centuries. It's only been 100 years of criminalization. 1923 in Canada was when criminalization came in. That's not that long ago. That's still in some people's lifetime. It's getting less and less people, but it's prior to that, it was in our pharmacopoeia. It was prescribed for pain, for arthritis, for our menstrual pains. It was part of what we reached for. The pharmacy had it on the shelf, and it wasn't until 100 years ago where it was scrapped and removed and made us think that it was bad and shameful, and if we reached for it, then we were either criminals or deviant or unmotivated, or all of the stigma related words that come along with that. So when I start to explain the history and start to explain the endocannabinoid system and explain the plant and explain all these things at the end of the class, it's often the seniors who are more passionate than me and about ready to go and pick it and say, like, what is going on here? Why have we been taught these untruths? And I don't get into the theories of why that happened. There's probably many reasons in that time that came about, but now we have a resurgence and an opportunity to reframe and come back to the truth of what this plant is really all about.
So tell us about, you have been working on reframing and helping, get that out there in the world. Tell us about the courses that you have developed and are developing. I know you have been working on something to help engage with other people that are in the healthcare space, and sort of helping destigmatize for them and allowing them to be able to have normal conversations with the people, the patients and clients that they're working with. Let us know, what is that course all about, and your previous courses as well?
Yeah. So that new course is called the Cannabis Informed Practitioner Program. And so this is for holistic practitioners who want to be more conscious of their languaging and supporting of their clients who may mention that they have cannabis, that they're working with cannabis, or they might want to suggest that. So what I'm hearing from clients is that they don't tell their practitioners about their cannabis use because of the stigma, because of the shame, because of all of these things. And I believe it's important for our practitioners to know what we're working with and how we are working with it. And so if a client disclosed that cannabis is part of my routine, I want the clinician to be able to have the terminology and the understanding to be able to explore that more. Is this relationship that they're having with cannabis working for them? Is it not working for them? Can that practitioner be able to offer some guidance as to bringing good relationship in? Can the practitioner also be educated around talking about THC, CBD, CBG, all the other aspects of cannabis as opposed to just THC? Because this is another piece that we only think cannabis is THC, but it's one component of what we're working with. The other piece of this program is languaging and watching how we have just gone into this pathway of colonized language. And so I've been exploring that and uncovering, what does words mean? Things like, in my garden, I grow cannabis. Well, actually, I don't grow cannabis. Cannabis grows itself, but I hold the space and I tend it and cultivate it and sit with it and work with it and listen to it. And so also sharing this kind of languaging as well, so that we come back into that place of respect and honor for our more than human beings. Cannabis is a more than human being. It's not a human, but it has intelligence. And I want to bring that respect back by noticing through our language. So that's another piece of the Cannabis Informed Practitioner Program, SIP, is understanding that can be translated into any other aspect of life as well. So it's in the works. Hoping to launch that very soon for practitioners who want to have that certification. And then I've got numerous seniors courses, lots of seniors courses, from 101 basic introduction to more diving into terpenes and understanding more deeply how to look at your ratios, cultivars, methods of intake, terpene profiles in order to work with specific conditions that you're needing to work with. And I also just been presented a more of a safety harm reduction course that talks about driving in cannabis, drug interactions, things that you need to know when you're talking to your doctor, how to get a prescription, how to sign up with your medical LP, and walking people through that as well. So those are some of the other courses. I also have an online course that's available for anybody to purchase, which is a cannabis dosing course, which goes through the basics of everything that you need to know about cannabis, and then you can refer back to it as well when you're making your decisions on how you're moving forward with cannabis.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you're doing all that work and picking out the pain points, right? And addressing them. What do you see as being like the best pathway? What is your vision for how we can bring the healthcare system together with this, evolving plant medicine system that we're sort of creating? Because you've introduced our organization to some potential partners and other people that are interested in bringing these worlds together. Maybe share with the audience a little bit about that.
Well, I find it daunting, to be honest, working in the medical profession, stepping into that realm, because it's very different from where we are working. We're working more in the holistic space, and the medical profession has some pretty strong boundaries up. And so I do find that very challenging, but I'm finding ways through, and that's coming from one, supporting seniors to advocate for themselves, so that when they're going to their doctors, they're saying, I learned about this, I know about this, and I want your support for this. So the more patients that push it from the patient end, as opposed to us coming from educators pushing it onto the medical professions, they just kind of shut down. So I really encourage that more grassroots of talking to your doctor, showing them that you're educated, that you know what you're talking about. And then also moving into the realm of care facilities. So where our seniors are going to be ending up, if they have developed a therapeutic regime already with cannabis, they want to be able to hold those while they're going into care. So I've been exploring long-term care facilities who are interested in bringing cannabis into their policies and procedures. And when they allow cannabis, especially in a medical way, to be in their facilities, they often have doctors, nurses, and pharmacists that are already on staff. And so getting the education in that way as well. And so it's I think it's looking at industry specific areas of where there's more openings, as opposed to a broad MD, a family practitioner, who doesn't have a push or motivation to bring that in. I think where our seniors is where it's at, and allowing and supporting them to push it forward.
Right, so they can help sort of create the model of how it works best that might translate to other groups in need. Certainly a good starting point. And I like the pharmacy piece. That's something that I think maybe as an organization we've been hesitant about, because we associate pharmacy with pharmaceuticals, and we're sort of at the opposite end of the spectrum as far as that goes, right? But we're starting to see that pathway open, an openness for pharmacists to get back to perhaps what their role was, which was, pharmacists had deep knowledges of or deep knowledge of herbs as medicines back in the day, right? So sort of moving back to that and shifting our trust back into pharmacists to help guide us, and being that they have often a set position in a seniors care facility. It's a great way to open the conversation and create a support group, right? So that we're sort of taking a holistic approach to the needs of the patients and the residents there. I love that.
Yeah, and speaking of support groups, wanted to talk a little bit about the work we're doing at Educanation, the Awake program, our alternative wellness access center for education. So I always get those mixed up. That Therese has just joined us in that mission to better serve more patients and more people in need. And there are many people out there who cannot afford our services. So just a little shameless plug here that if you would like to make a donation or sponsor patients or our organization, that really, really does help us to help more people. We do not want to have to charge for our services, but at this point, this is what is required. But we're hoping that with some sponsorship, we don't have to pass that burden on to our patients and the people that we're working with. So just throwing that in there. So I want to talk a little bit about our Awake program. We often work one-on-one with patients, and you are coming in and bringing us another element with some group work. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so we've got monthly group initial consultation education sessions where we go through what you need to know in order to get started with cannabis. And so this offering is usually the first step that you take before engaging in a long-term coaching connection with us through our 3-month program. So the initial consultation has been done one-on-one, but I'm opening it up into a group format, which will be more affordable. And then you have the opportunity as well to hear from other people. So when I'm doing group work, what I really notice is that the questions that people share are generally common within everybody. So if you didn't think of the question and somebody else did, I'm still going to answer it for the group. And then you get to glean that information. And sometimes people share their stories too. And that's a great way to hear what worked for somebody, what didn't work for somebody. So there becomes more of a collaboration and a richer learning experience, I believe, that when we are in these more group environments. So those are monthly, and the dates are up on the website and as well to sign up for and grab a spot and sit with me, and we'll learn about cannabis together.
Yeah,
Perfect.
do you find that it creates a sense of community also? Like sometimes I think patients, they feel alone, and so might be even hesitant to ask certain questions or, come to a space like that by themselves. So I like the idea of the group setting. Do you find that in the group work that you do, that there is sometimes that sense of community that gets created within the people that join those sessions together?
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of my other groups that I've had ongoing for the last couple of years, people really bond together, and we share because we're sharing our stories and we're being real and raw, and we're talking about a taboo subject. And so sometimes other taboo subjects might slip in there too, because we're already there. We're already being open and vulnerable and honest with our ways of being. So it's kind of cool to be able to develop a relationship based on honesty.
I love that. I love that. So before we take another commercial break, do you have any tips and tricks for our listeners that about the best place to start when it comes to cannabis education and starting your journey?
Well, definitely with an educator. that's a really good place to start is with a certified educator. We also have online access to our IMD health modules are free, and you can explore those and pick topics that are relevant to you. So those are working with an educator can cost a little bit of money, but you're investing in your health and your well-being, and you're investing in really good, solid information. IMD Health is free access.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
Beautiful.
thank you, Therese. And
Yeah, hang on before I want to just before we run to the break, you said that we could find the group sessions online on what websites? Is it just educannation.info or is it also therese.ca?
Oh, I haven't got them up. Oh, yes, they are on trees.ca
They
as
are
well.
there.
Yes.
They are there as well. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we let our listeners know where they can find this. Okay.
Yes.
perfect. All right. Be right back.
All right.
Educanation, a Canadian non-profit organization devoted to improving the quality of cannabis education and care across our nation and around the world. Educanation believes in continued education and support through the three-tiered membership: cannabis education and outreach services, patient education and support through their holistic clinic model. Educanation, providing the highest standard of professional and responsible cannabis education. www.educannation.info.
And we're back. So we're back to our woke dose. And I think it is very fitting. This is what we're trying to do, fit our questions into the subject that we are speaking on each episode. This is from an anonymous listener. Why bother paying a CCE when it's so easy to access free information online? And we just mentioned, hey, go to our IMD Health modules, they're free, right? So why engage with a cannabis educator? Therese, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's lots of nuances that come with cannabis that is kind of hard to communicate at times through our researching on the internet. So it's a great place to, like our IMD Health is a great place to get started, but your individual case might need a little bit more guidance. I also find that people can get overwhelmed. There's a lot to learn about cannabis, and we can break it down and also share what you need to know step by step. You don't have to know it all, but you do need to know some key information in order to make your first decisions. Some people might be getting some responses or reactions to cannabis that they weren't sure about. It's really hard to Google and find out what that is and how to address that. Having somebody to support you and walk alongside you also increases your success rate, as opposed to just going on your own. Sometimes people give up too early. Cannabis isn't like a pharmaceutical where your doctor says take 2 pills and you're good to go. It's more of an experiential and experimental journey with cannabis of finding what is the right cannabinoid, the right dose, the right method of intake for you. And sometimes you need that helping hand to help troubleshoot and to help guide you along the way and cheerlead and bring a bit of confidence. And if anything is unsure, that's what we're here for. And we've got years of experience and years of working with clients who really inform our ability to support you. We can also help with our thoughts. Sometimes our thoughts mess us up and derail us in our journey with cannabis. So things like mindfulness and coming back to our intention are really, really important, and we're here to remind you of that.
Yeah, and I like that piece of like trying to navigate what we're researching, right? I think for me, that's what I've seen in all my years of working with patients is, we Google it and we get these responses, and we tend to, as people, read the first thing that we see, right? We're not necessarily doing the deep dive, and those algorithms that bring those first things out there don't necessarily mean that this is really quality information, right? Or that
Yes.
it's correct information. It might be misinformation or misguided information, and if we just go based onto those things, sometimes we can get caught up in the stigma that's still out there, because that stigma actually still exists even within the science, right? And how we approach it, and the different journals that are being printed, and all of these things. So I think, for myself personally, when I was navigating that with my son, not having anybody to bounce that information off of, like not having someone knowledgeable to say, like, yes, that's true, no, that's not true, let's look at this in a different way. I really wanted that person by my side to help me with that. So that's what I've noticed with my patients, is just being there to be that guide, to hold their hand and help them navigate what is good information and what isn't good information. What do you think, JJ?
Yeah, well, I'll echo those sentiments for sure, because sure, there's all kinds of free information out there, but is it credible? Is it true? Is it accurate? I know for me, when I was first trying to research about cannabis for cancer, I was sent down so many rabbit holes by so many different people telling me so many different things, and a lot of it was untrue. I learned later on, or was misinformation or disinformation, or people have the best intentions, but they just really don't know, or they just go through life believing things are one way when they're actually another way. And if you don't have somebody to talk to, somebody to bounce these thoughts, ideas off of, you might go through your whole life thinking that something is one way when it's not. And I think a lot of people have gone through life about that, like that with cannabis, because we've been told so many like negative things about this plant that are untrue, and so many people still believe that, which is very unfortunate. So there's that. Without being able to talk to somebody, share stories, we can't get through that. And yes, and then why as well work with the certified educator role? Like, why would you want to just go through all of this alone? Like, you don't have to go through it alone. We're here for you. We have this experience. We are very passionate because we have navigated our own health journeys, and we have become passionate about learning about this plant, and we want to teach you. So come and see us over at Education. We have lots to share. We have decades of experience between all of us as individuals in working with so many different ailments and cannabis in so many different ways, shape, and forms. So, you're not alone. We're here for you.
Maybe we can look at it as like harm reduction, right? Like working with someone that is knowledgeable helps us reduce those harms. Recently, we came across a patient who is often the patients that come to us are they're desperate, right? They've tried everything else and they're turning to cannabis as a last resort. And when you're in those different, what was that?
I said, come to us first.
Yes. But in those desperate moments, I mean, often we'll take anything that we can get our hands on, right? And I'm thinking of a recent patient who was privy to another patient's cannabis plan. And that worked for them and helped heal that person. And so then this patient says, well, I'm just going to do what they did. And it's like, well, but you're an individual and your condition is different than this person's condition. And if you go ahead and try what they're doing, you might have a bad experience, right? If you start off at their high dose, you might have a bad experience and then say, whoa, cannabis isn't right for me. Or you start off too low and you don't have the effects that you're looking for, right? So I kind of think of it as being harm reduction as well.
Absolutely. We always say education is harm reduction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a really great talk today. Thank you, Therese, so much for joining us. Thank you for sticking with our organization and continuing to bring your knowledge and experience to the table. We continue to learn and grow together, which is what we are all about, right?
Yes. So, and if you want to learn more about Therese, join one of Therese's ceremonies or join one of Therese's group sessions. You can You find it all over at educannation.info and a little bit on therese.ca as well. I know she would love to have you over there. And I did want to mention as well, because I don't think we shared at the beginning, that you do host these cannabis ceremonies for the general public as well, not just for our organization. We're not just privy to it. Other people get to experience this as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. In person, wherever I am in the world, happen to be in the world, or virtual as well. And so I've been opening it up for individuals to book their own session. If you want your own cannabis ceremony experience with my guidance, then, or a couple or a group of people, and then I Zoom in or Google Meet in, and we journey together with cannabis.
Lovely. Beautiful. Highly recommend.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Therese, for being here.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you all. And we'll see you next time for episode 5. Get your questions out to us so we can answer.
At Educanation, we believe education is harm reduction. The more you know, the more you can enjoy the benefits of cannabis safely and effectively. To elevate your level of knowledge, join us next month as we chew the cud together on the many strategies available to transform your health and wellness with the support of our plant ally cannabis. In the meantime, visit educannation.info so you can follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, or join our organization so you never miss a show, a series, or a soundbite. Educanation is a nonprofit dedicated to responsible cannabis education, working alongside a community of members, advisors, partners, and sponsors. Our mission is made possible by the collaboration of volunteers and the generosity of our listeners. If you've learned something from us, we invite you to consider supporting our work through a donation or sponsorship. Your contribution allows us to continue delivering unbiased, stigma-free, science-backed information, empowering you to make informed decisions that nurture the health of your endocannabinoid system. ECN Talks is brought to you by Educanation and the KGL Network. If you are interested in being a title sponsor of the show, please reach out to us at educanationinc@gmail.com.